name of the street. He's been here half hour.
I don't need to know the name of the street, I'm just asking.
With all due respect, I don't either. But I don't work this area, so...
Can you get him to move that car? Because, I mean, it's like you, he's parked illegally. I don't know whether you're allowed to, because you're dealing with an apparent incident, but you both look to me to be parked illegally on the path.
I'm exempt on the factors I'm dealing with an incident.
So you're exempt.
So if I was to park there and wander off into town, that's abuse of power. Okay, but I'm dealing with a job. I'm parking that just. Yeah. The reason I'm parking like that, sir, is one, to give people the freedom to walk on the path. Also, the freedom to keep that traffic flowing.
Okay, fair enough.
That's the reason why I've given my car that distance.
But what about this guy? He's not a police officer. He probably wanted to be, but he's not a police officer. He's parked illegally as well. I think he could quite easily park over there in a parking bay, but look what he's doing. And he's here to apparently enforce traffic regulations.
He is, and that's also dealt with by the council, not us.
So you can't. You can come here for a breach of the peace, but you can't make him move that vehicle.
As far as I'm aware, the local council deal with the parking issues around here, not us. As far as I'm aware.
We can get him to move.
But if it's an obstruction, that's when our power comes into it, which is,
yeah,
I think...
I feel that is an obstruction for women with pushchairs. Look, there's what? I don't think you'd have...
So I get what you're saying,
yeah.
But in order for the police to invoke their powers, it has to be a full absolute obstruction. And that's because it's been taken away from us. It's been dealt with civilly by the councils. So, because it's not a complete obstruction...
So, because it's a partial obstruction,
really?
It's a partial obstruction, so he doesn't have to move it.
For example, if he was blocking somebody's driveway that they can't get their car out, that's classed as an obstruction. We would then ask him to move it, and we could then remove it.
But do you agree he's parked? Do you not think he's parked illegally? Look, it's on the path. You're not supposed to park on paths. People walk on them. It's, you know, a person who's partially sighted may walk into his car.
We've already had people walk past it this morning, Mr. Webster.
Yeah, but I know, but they're not everybody. You know, there's disabled people, like I say, partially sighted.
With all due respect, Mr. Webster, we're digressing from the issue that we're trying to deal with. Let's get that dealt with first. Okay. I appreciate it's quite stressful for you, and I appreciate that it's annoying for you.
But the reason it's stressful, you know what's going on in this country. I mean, look, they're robbing the poor left, right, and centre. We're being robbed left, right, and centre. You can't tell me you're any different. You're not a rich man, are you, in monetary terms, or you wouldn't be doing what you're doing.
Yeah, that's fine.
You know, and they seem to be robbing us all in every way possible.
I understand where you're coming from, sir, I really do.
You know, you look at the...
I don't know the circumstances.
If you were to look at the Hampstead abuse case in Christchurch Primary, you tell me why they're ignoring that when it's the truth. You know, what's going on in this country that they can just do this to us? We let them do it, don't we? We do. We police one another, in effect. You're called the police, but we actually police one another, because that's what that guy's there is doing. That's just his job. Yet what's he doing? He's policing, and he's taking people's things who haven't got anything at all. You know, it just seems wrong to me.
Like I said, I understand your circumstances. I don't know what's led to this situation, and it's obviously sad that you can't come to an agreement to get your car back at this stage.
I come to an agreement with. It was a few months ago. The traffic warden put a thing on, bit of paper on the car, and I said, "What's that?" And she said, "It's a."
Where was it? What part there?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And she said, "Oh, you have to pay money." I said, "Well, can anybody do that? Write on bits of paper, stick them on a windscreen and say you owe money?" And she said, "Yes, but you have to have a job for Warwickshire County Council." And I said, "Oh, good, I've got one of those." And she just walked off. It's a strange thing. Anybody who works for Warwickshire County Council can, in effect, put something on this windscreen and say you owe money, according to her. But that's another issue. Seems a bit strange though. You know, you park outside your house, you're trying to earn a living. Right. You're trying to earn a living, and they do things like this to you.
Like I said, so I can't disagree with you on certain things, and I get that. But obviously, something's happened where it's been left so long that they've decided this is the choice that they're going to deal with it.
Mr. Webster, you don't know what the fine is for?
No.
You need a permit to park.
What's a permit? Apparently, it reads I think this is a permit, something to do with a permit.
Okay.
But I mean, I live here, so you know.
Yeah, but aren't councils now giving permits out to residents in order to park there because they're stopping people that work or travel just to park in places like the way you'd want to park as a resident?
Nobody ever parks there. You know they don't. You're local. You know full well. You can
I'm
go
going to remind you again. I don't know this area. I don't work in this area. I work over in Warwick.
Perhaps your colleague does, but I can tell you now, nobody ever parks there. Nobody.
But that doesn't mean if you still need a permit, it doesn't matter if they're...
But you both must know it's just a way of making money. You know, they charge you.
I don't know whether. I don't know the circumstances. Where I come from, the councils issue people that live there. You pay a small amount of money for a year's permit, and you can give visitors permits to come and visit your property. And all that does, it stops people that commute or that come to the town to park, and they park where people live. It's in order to stop all that, so that you can park freely.
Yeah, that's right.
I get that, but a lot of that comes from residents complaining because they can't park outside their own houses. So the council, I mean, they're clearly not going to pay for stuff, are they? They are going to expect people to pay up a little bit. So in order for them to bring all the paperwork up, somebody's got to pay for it. So they pass some of that cost back to residents. Fairly or unfairly? I mean, you can always argue that.
Unfairly, I'll tell you why. Because if you haven't got any money like me, and sometimes you have to buy a cheap car, do you know what they do? They charge you a fiver every time you do that. Charge you a fiver, literally, to ring up somebody in Greater Manchester who claims to be Warwickshire County Council, and they're not, so they're liars. And they charge you a fiver just to change your car registration.
Right, okay.
You know, that's just, that's plain wrong. I know it's nothing to do with you, but I'm just trying to highlight what's going on in this country of ours. You know, it's supposed to be such a wonderful place. You know, it's a bit like I look at it like a cream cake, you know, with lots of nice things on, and when you bite into it, it's dog food. You know, that's how I see it. You know, but it's going on everywhere. I mean, there's guys like this. You know, I can't understand why anybody would want to do what he's doing against his common man. You know, I just don't get it at all. You know, perhaps he always wanted to be a policeman, but didn't make it, and so he thought he'd do the next best thing. Maybe, who knows?
Okay. Have you not actually spoken to anybody about this before?
No.
See, sometimes, I mean, ignorance is never an excuse in these cases. They won't take it. So if they believe they've sent you letters, then they'll...
He said he sent letters, but if you were to look, this is a communal letterbox. We get our post, because the postman can't always get in. We get our post sometimes 5 days, 7 days late, if at all. And I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
You know, anybody can get into those flats. You know, you very rarely get post. Yeah, they won't do anything, because I don't think Orbit will give the post office a key. You know, any residents is post office. So there's nothing that can be done about that whatsoever. But we don't, you know, lots of us don't get mail. Or you get it very late. This is all that's going to happen with this video. It's going to go on YouTube and Facebook, that's all. I'm pretty sure he's supposed to have a sign on the judge. I'm not showing him it. I don't want him to take my car. Could you stop him from taking my car? So I think what he's doing is illegal. If you're not stopping him, he's going to take my car illegally, I believe. You stop him. I don't want him to take my car. I'm just saying that to you, trying to make it clear. I think he's taken my car illegally. He has no warrant signed by a judge acting under oath. He's just going to take my car. That doesn't seem right to me. I don't want him to take my car.
I mean, don't really listen to it. Let's just see what's going on with this. I mean, have you not spoken to anybody at all? So you've not had any. I mean, like I said to you, sometimes ignoring letters makes things worse.
Sometimes you don't.
Because, well.
Not today. I mean, previously. You said earlier on that there was somebody that came out and stuck something on your car.
Did you pay that ticket that you had? You said there was
just someone put something on the car. So I'll rip it off and bin it.
Well, there you go. I mean, I said ignorance isn't an excuse.
No, I know, but you can't just surely in this country. You can't just put a bit of paint
but
and
if
say
you took
owe
that off
money.
Reddit, you may well be able to have a discussion with somebody, because like sometimes innocent people do get mixed up and embroiled in things. But with a discussion, somebody would then understand what's gone on and then probably explain the process better to you, and you wouldn't find yourself in this boat. But like I said, ignorance isn't an excuse. So if you choose to ignore it, then you find yourself in this situation where they have the power then. Because if you ignore the council are, like I said, governed by civil law. They have a process that they have to follow. They can't just go and do this because they know that they can't. Okay, there is a process they have to go through. They'd be criticised if they didn't do it.
I did get a ticket a few months back.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the police said
the police.
no, the police said to us, we're really sorry about that. They said, tell them it's our fault and you'll get it squashed.
Did you tell them that it was their fault then?
Didn't see any point. It's a ticket.
Right.
You know,
Well,
this is the police
but
drove me car and parked, you know, and got in me car.
Okay.
And
But you didn't have a conversation with somebody.
no,
Well, there you go. Like I said, ignorance is not an excuse. So the fact that you choose not to speak to somebody, even on the advice of a police officer, to say that had happened, then you're not helping yourself, are you, at the end of the day? In this situation, you haven't really helped yourself.
fault though. So, and like I say, he's got to have a mind. He hasn't shown me anything. How long have you been here now, wasting time? No, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
If we're stopping you getting yourself in trouble, you know, we're not wasting our time, are we? There's no point.